Welcome to the Crown Yourself podcast, where together we build your empire and transform your subconscious stories about what's possible for your business, body, and life. I'm your host, Kimberly Spencer, founder of crownyourself.com, and I'm a master mindset coach, best-selling author, TEDx speaker, known to my clients as a game changer. Each week, you get the conscious leadership strategies you need to help you reign with courage, clarity, and confidence so that you too can make the income and impact you deserve. Imagine this podcast as your royal invitation to step into your full potential and reign in your divine purpose. Your sovereignty starts here, and your reign is now. Before we dive in, let me tell you about the book that started a podcasting revolution, Make Every Podcast Want You. It is not just a bestseller, it is a 2-time gold medalist, baby. This book is your ultimate guide to landing dream podcast interviews, building authority authentically, and making your voice the one they remember. If you've got a message and a mission, this is your mic drop moment. Grab your copy today in the link below and step into the spotlight that you were born for. Hello, and welcome back to the Crown Yourself podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Spencer, and I am so honored to have my very dear friend, an amazing podcaster, soon-to-be best-selling author. Like, she is just phenomenal. Miss Hilary Russo coming to the stage.
I mean, can I start my day any better than with somebody manifesting for me? I'm with you on that one. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. I mean, you are a practitioner, a trainer in the Havening modality. You have deeply studied this system for helping with nervous system regulation, which I think honestly right now in this day and age, as we were talking about just before we hopped on the show, like, is so necessary, because I think just societally we haven't processed the grief and the collective like burnout that we've experienced just from the past 5 years of, oh my God, what the hell just happened? Like, 2020 was 5 years ago.
Right? I was just
Crazy.
thinking that because I just released my 5-year episode of Holistically Speaking, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, has it been that long? And how has everything changed in the last 5 years from the point of like being in the digital age, where we're spending so much more time online? Even when I first started my show, it was just audio based. Now it's audio video, as well as like what you're doing as well. Everything has changed so much. And while we're so grateful to have technology help us in this movement, it also could be very overwhelming because it's not what we are used to, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's especially with the emergence of AI and so many people, unless they're like actively in business, like they think, oh, ChatGPT. And I'm like, no, this is coming for every industry. This is disrupting every single industry. I just was chatting with an AI coach in my mastermind. Bananas. So with our nervous systems, how do we really stabilize ourselves and ground ourselves when there's so much change and we're kind of swept in this tornado of survival change, in essence?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's one I'm always asking myself, Kimberly, because I'm in it too. I'm learning by doing too. And when you come from a time when, we used to write the thank you cards by hand, I still do that. There wasn't internet really infiltrating us. Maybe you had a computer. If you're of a X age like myself, maybe a computer was introduced into your home, or you maybe just had it at school. Like, I didn't even have a computer until I was after college. So, even that was like a big thing back then. But here we are, where it's like we're so overwhelmed with AI. And I think we hear that all the time, especially in the podcast space. But you're right. It's in every industry. It's replacing people in their jobs. And when people are like, oh, I'll never use ChatGPT, that's plagiarism. And look, when I first heard about it, I thought that too, because as a background in journalism, I would give a student an F in my journalism class if I saw that they copied something that was like a paragraph. Now we're using it, but it's a tool. It's a tool. And that's just talking about ChatGPT. It is a tool that you can use, and then you check your resources and you write to your own language. But even going outside of that, we were talking before we press record here about using it to help with editing, using it to find information that we truly need that could be helpful and resourceful. It's like Google on crack, you know?
Yeah, I use it more now to source information that is personalized to me, where before, I'd be Googling in the search bar and I'd have to scroll through multiple articles, be like, nope, that's not
Uh-huh.
it. Nope, that's not what I'm looking for. Nope. I'm able to ask very specific directed questions. I think the hard part is where our nervous system and the relationship that we have with AI, because there is an echo chamber effect if we aren't careful with it
Absolutely.
validating every bad idea that we have that can lead to absolute burnout.
Yeah. Overwhelm, burnout, information overload, sitting there, self doubt. I mean, you name it. And look, this is not just you or me or those who are tuning in. This is everybody
Mhm.
because your brain is designed to go to the negative to keep you alive and safe. Your amygdala has one job. And we've talked about this before. That part of your brain that is fight, flight, freeze, or fawn has one job. And if you're feeling these feelings, it's doing its job. But the difference is you don't just stand by and say, that's the way it is. I'm just going to feel the overwhelm. My blood pressure is going to rise. This is going to hurt my body and my brain and my mind and all parts of me. This is an awareness that maybe I'm spending too much time doing the research, or maybe I need to step away from something for a minute. If you feel it in your body and it doesn't feel good, that's the first step of an awareness that is necessary to say, I'm okay not having everything I need in this moment and everything is working out for me, right? That is the first step. So with your nervous system, having the awareness that something is stepping you into the tension that doesn't feel right is actually a good thing. The second step is that
If you
allowing
acknowledge it, like,
right,
if
right.
you
Right.
because I
Yeah.
still struggle with it too.
Right. And girl, me too. Like there are plenty of times when I am having a day, right? Like I am in my stuff and my partner, my boyfriend will be like, "Have you haven today? Have you journaled today? Have you taken a walk?" Maybe like step away from what you are constantly doing in that cycle of putting yourself back into it. Because even I forget that too. So it's that awareness and then saying, "Okay, with this awareness, how do I want to feel?" How do I want to feel? And then bringing that image to mind and then using tools like I use with my clients, with those that I serve, and myself, which is the Havening Techniques. That's my main tool. And using self regulatory and self regulation tools to calm the nervous system and create that place of safety that sweet little amygdala that you have is working overtime with the cogs going. And it just needs to be reminded it's not in danger. Because we feel like when we're in danger when we are in uncertainty.
Mm. Have you noticed a difference with your clients and those that you serve? With those that are like chronic high achievers, perfectionists, where they in how fast they get triggered and how they can widen that gap leveraging the techniques of self-regulation.
Hi, I'm Hilary Russo and I'm a high achiever and I'm looking in the mirror right now. I mean, I'm like guinea pig, but patient number one. I really had to learn the lesson by being in it. And yes, to answer your question, yes, working with people and letting them see that takes time. We have the ability to change our thoughts, our moods, our behaviors, and our habits. But again, it goes back to the first step in order to do so is acknowledging and being aware that something is pushing against you. That doesn't feel good, doesn't feel right. And once you do that, bringing in these beautiful tools like Havening and many other tools that exist can really help you find that space and that clarity to put your nervous system is either in sympathetic or parasympathetic. That's it. We live in sympathetic, which is basically do, go, 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 need, want. Sympathetic is more like be. I'm just I'm just going with the flow. Life is good. Rest and repair. And I wish we could spend more time there, but that
Mm.
takes a little work. But it doesn't mean it's not possible. Oh, it's only been the last 25 years or so where we acknowledged and science has shown us that you can create new neural pathways in your brain. Neuroplasticity is a thing. Oh, it's not a trend. It's a fact, right? This isn't a trend, hashtag it, and it's going to go away tomorrow. Let's just hope it gets better. So, understanding your nervous system, understanding that you're wiring and firing and creating new pathways every time you make a choice, it could be extremely powerful. And the more you see how it makes you feel in a positive way, the more you want of it, right?
So true.
Let that
My
be the addiction.
Yes, like, and I think the thing, it's a practice. Like, my entryway into personal development wasn't through mindset work. It was through Pilates and actually like training my parasympathetic nervous system to activate. My dad had this slogan that I think he got hit from my grandpa that was "When in danger, when in doubt, run and holler, scream and shout." And it's funny because my husband, who's a Gen Xer, his dad also had the same saying of like, and my husband was like, "That doesn't make sense. That's like the worst advice ever." And so my son this morning, just this morning, I was like, "We got to go to camp. Like, I got to go to drop off." And I hear this, and suddenly I'm like, "Oh, there's a nervous system spike." And so I reframed it to "When in danger, when in doubt, take a deep breath and then let it out."
Or hug it out.
And hug it out. Oh, I love that one. I think we need to do that.
I say that a lot. I'm like, when in doubt, hug it out. Like, because it's really,
Ooh.
it's so about you holding space for yourself. And we've talked about the hug it out method, which is something I've created out of many of the modalities I use. And that's my trademark and my signature method. But hug it out is not about the hugging it out we do with others. When there's an upset, when there's a kerfuffle, the hug it out is about taking time to like give yourself permission to self regulate, self soothe, self gratitude, understanding of self, laughing at the things, right? That's the HUG, the humor, understanding, and gratitude. That's the hug. So that hugging it out with self is what we need to do more of because we're
Humor,
giving a lot of it
understanding,
away.
gratitude.
Yeah.
That I completely agree with that giving it away. When someone has had trauma, because I know you've worked with a lot of people who have had trauma. So when someone has had trauma, where do you see that whether it's their attachment style or their nervous system just misfires to the point where they even struggle to see the gratitude even in any situation?
Yeah. I hear that a lot, especially when something is in the moment trauma. And I work with a lot of first responders, obviously, as someone who worked full time in journalism, was on the scene a lot. We were considered the forgotten first responders. And I witnessed a lot of people and still do as someone who has been in the trenches really at times and even connected to the military. When you're in it, whether it is a pandemic, a crisis, everything, we always feel like everything's a crisis when it's happening in the moment, right? But when it's happening, it's really about taking that breath. And sometimes that's very hard to do. But havening can be really, really the most beautiful way to like deal with a panic attack, distracting yourself, thinking of something positive. Distractions are really a important step in the havening process, which is
Mm,
basically havening is like you're washing your hands, giving yourself a gentle hug from your shoulders to your elbows, or even touching your face. That touch is the oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, and then when you pair that with something like, I'm just going to count to 20, I'm going to sing a song. And anyone who has been in the presence of a first responder or a doctor's office, or they felt pain, or you've consoled a child when something's happened, when they've fallen, you distract them. Let's
mhm.
sing a song. Let's hum. Let's take our mind, if you're a good visualizer, to a place that brings you peace and calm and joy. You add that touch with that, you're creating those new neural pathways. And it's like a hug for your amygdala. Your
Mm.
amygdala needs to be reminded it's safe. It's all about safety. So for somebody who's in that moment, if they can just pause for a moment, and I've done it, how many times I've I'm so clumsy. Like, you sit there and you take a fall, or you're feeling the anxiety of something. If you just take a step back for a couple minutes and do the approach and put on your favorite music, or look out the window and count all the birds on your bird feeder, or whatever it might be, or think about that, like, first class ticket to the vacation you want to take, or something that you loved more than anything that just brings you that happiness. Your amygdala is gonna go where you take it because it
Mhm.
doesn't know time or space. That's, I think, the big distinction right there. When you know you have the power over your thoughts, suddenly you want to have power over your thoughts, right? Once you see it happening, once you're like, if I can befriend my amygdala, maybe we can go on this journey together,
I
and
think
then it becomes a
the amygdala's got a
game.
bad rap.
It's sad because Amy, as we call her, is just doing her job. She's been doing her job since, we've been fighting against saber-tooth tigers. If she wasn't doing her job back in the day, we would have walked up to some saber-tooth tiger and been like, "Oh, that's a really cute cat. I want a pet. I'm going to take it home." And that would have ended that. So Amy is doing her job, but Amy's also a scared child. She's a warrior, but she's also someone that's like, I got a job to do. She's in danger. I got to keep her safe. And she's gonna do whatever she needs to do? Kimberly, it's almost like if you have an alarm system in your home, like a Ring system, right? You can dial that thing up to where it goes off if a leaf blows by your front door. Like, my mom's goes off every, like, a raccoon walks by and it goes off, and she's like, "There's somebody at the door." I'm like, "No, it's just a raccoon." But if you dial that baby down, it's gonna go off once it sees an image of a person in front of the door, right? Or, like,
Mhm.
if you have an internal alarm system that has detectors and lights and sensors, you can dial that thing down. You control the knob on that to where maybe it goes off when a person, again, is walking through the home rather than a glass falls and breaks? So it's learning how to dial in and dial down your system.
Yeah, I one of my clients, I was explaining it. She had significant childhood trauma, and I said, "Your nervous system," we were going to hypnosis. I said, "Right now, your nervous system thinks that you lighting a candle should set off the fire alarm. But you're just trying to make your home smell nice with a nice, like,
Mhm.
lovely scented candle. But
Right.
it's seeing kitchen fire, gas and
Mhm.
gas inferno rather than something that's contained and safe."
That's right. That's exactly right. It could be like your amygdala responds much faster than your thinking brain. Your
Mhm.
thinking brain over here is like, well, let's theorize what's happening. And the amygdala's like, shut up. We're getting the heck out of danger. Come on. So that part of your brain works so much faster because it has to. But it's up to us to remind it it's okay. And I just recently wrote an article about white coat syndrome, which is all about how people fear going to the doctor's office. You know, and I'm one of those people too, because I had major jaw surgery when I was 15. So every time I go to the dentist and I'm sitting in that chair, before I even go, I do a little havening. When I'm there, I'm havening in the chair. When I leave, I'm like, all is well, and I'm using my tools to self regulate, reminding myself I'm not 15 years old anymore going into major surgery. Or when we go to get our yearly mammograms, that could be scary too. You know, we could have a past event that is causing us to fear that, or we can just be hearing secondary traumatic stress from the outside world. We are guided by machines that are telling us the doom and death and destruction. Us tuning into that constantly is also secondary traumatic stress. It's not happening to us, but it's happening, and it could scare us. Or it could be as simple as, like, your little one watching a movie and they get scared by it and they're having nightmares because their little sweet brains, which aren't fully developed, witnessed something that scared them, and the amygdala is like, "That this kid's n I gotta protect him or her," right? And that's exactly why we can take control of the narrative the sooner we realize, whether it's using a modality like havening or hypnosis, which I'm a huge fan of as well, as certified as well, or many of the other tools that are out there, you
So many
know?
tools. So
Yeah.
many tools. And I think that that's the thing that I think if I could change anything in the education system, it would be learning self-regulation techniques at 5.
So social emotional learning tools are essential in the education system. I love when I get invited to go to schools and I'm teaching little ones how to haven. I'm teaching them songs, how to self haven, or just when I was a college professor for 11 years and teaching journalism and on camera presentation, one of the biggest fears they had was getting up in front of an audience and presenting. What if they had tools to just make them feel safe, right? Because the hands get clammy, the heart starts racing. They're not truly in danger, but Amy doesn't know that. So Amy's going to react, and all of a sudden you've got a trembly voice. You're sweating like you're doing a workout, and you forget what you're going to say, right?
Mhm.
You freeze up. So these tools can be used at any age. We're all students of life, but gosh, if we saw this as an SEL for kids, there would be so many more kids that were presented with the possibility of regulating their nervous systems and really becoming well-rounded adults, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I know many adults who need it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's because there were certain things that at the time, like living in a multi-generational household with my mom who's a baby boomer, my husband who's a Gen Xer, and myself who's a elder millennial. And then we have our kids, and hearing some of the stories of my husband and like what he experienced, he was like, "Oh yeah, I would come home from school and like no one would be there for hours," and I'd be like, that sounds terrifying."
Latchkey. Latchkey
Latchkey kid,
kids.
yeah. It's just the understanding that, and I think we need to have compassion because I think as we learn more, like, know better, do better. And we did the best that we could at that time, but trying to apply those same principles, whether it's in parenting or in business or in health, to today, not so. Like, because
Yeah.
now we know more. I want to switch gears into the self regulation that is required when going for a goal, because any goal that we want to achieve is obviously new and different and thus triggers uncertainty. And Amy's like, "What the hell? Like, I'm not sure about this." So, how do we regulate when going toward those big, hairy, audacious goals that we have for building our empires, for getting the best sellers, for making the money, for doing all the things, for manifesting all the goodness that we want in life?
Hi, I'm Hilary Russo, and I'm going towards
Right?
seriously, right? I mean, it's so true, right? We are our own advocate for what we do. Like, if I didn't believe in this and I was just pitching it, that would be ridiculous, right? So, I'll give you an example. Like, you mentioned the book a couple times, right? I mean, I'm in the process of writing a book. I've got a kick-ass proposal. I've been acknowledged by one of the biggest publishers, but it's not in publishing yet, right? And my thought is, okay, I'm going to treat it like it's already there. So, and yes, we can call it manifesting, you can call it whatever you want, but the energy you put out there is going to impact your nervous system. I'll sit here and I did it right before we came on. Like this morning I sat here and I was talking about to myself as if it was a thing. You might not know the outcome 99.999%. We don't really know the outcome of our everyday life. You know, we create these agendas, and what's the saying? If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans, right? We,
Yeah.
we create these agendas, we create these structured this is how it's going to go. And yes, for some people, yeah, it works that way. But for the most part, tighter we hold on to our agenda, the more we create anxiety and upset and overwhelm because we're not used to just releasing and surrendering and letting go and trusting the universe or God or source or spirit guides, angels, whatever you believe in, or self, believe in self, and just know that it's working out for you with the highest good and truth and compassion. And that means like really sitting there and like seeing it happening. Use some tools, use some self regulation tools, paint the picture in your mind. If you can do good imagery work and visualization, close your eyes and see that perfect day. I love doing this with my clients. I'll say, how do you want to feel? What do you
Mm,
want the outcome to be? It doesn't mean it's going to go this way, but let's go forward. Once we bring them down and we down regulate, now let's create that outcome, right? Because if you're in a heightened state, it's very hard to see it. So you bring yourself down, do a little self-regulation, and then you allow yourself to see the outcome. And one thing I say a lot, Kim, is that we're on the highway. We just might have not reached the exit yet. It's like if you want a better relationship, don't say what you don't want. Saying, "Oh, I don't want to attract another narcissist." Well, that's what you're going to get if you keep putting that energy out there. How about I am attracting the most beautiful, kind, loving, compassionate person because that's who I am, and like attracts like, and I know it's out there and it's on its way, and I'm so grateful. Gratitude is huge. There's been scientific proof behind how gratitude for the things around us and ourselves can make a huge difference in and leveling up that energy, right? So there's that. And then there's also just, if you're creative, draw the picture. I have a whiteboard in front of me with 3 categories saying, I've got this, meaning the things that I'm doing. The universe has got this, meaning like I release and surrender my prayers to the care of the universe. And then achievements. I've done this, right? Grateful for what I've done. Those 3 categories have been game changers for me because when I look up and I'm like, "Yeah, this hasn't happened yet." And I say, "It's in process. It's happening. I'm good." Because then you're not trusting yourself, and you're not believing that there is something that wants you to succeed,
I
right?
would say that over the course of 9 years of coaching leaders, that is the number one theme, if we were to really chunk up, is trusting yourself.
Yeah,
And
right. It has
I
nothing to
think
do with outside.
has nothing to do with outside, and I think it's because commonly a lot of the leaders that come to me have had some form of trauma and whether it's a shock trauma or childhood trauma. And from that space, they've put themselves in the villain role
Mhm.
of the drama triangle. I know my audience know for most of my audience, they have heard me talk about the drama triangle of the enabler or the hero role, the villain, and the victim. And most people who are going for big goals, they'd hate putting themselves in the victim role. They never want to see themselves as a victim, even if they were victimized at some point in their life.
Mhm.
So they overtake their share of responsibility, taking all everybody else's responsibility along with it, and put themselves in that villain role where beliefs such as like, I don't deserve this,
Mhm.
come up. When regulating the nervous system, where does that come into play with the physiological somatic body? Encountering those beliefs to pivot that villain role into the challenger, the one who gets to be the disruptor of generational curses, the generational pattern breaker. Where does that come into play?
Well, what you're describing is BS, right? And the BS is your belief system, the
Yep.
bullshit too,
The
right?
bullshit belief
Right.
system.
It's both, and it's the limiting belief system. It might have been something you were told as a child. It could have been something you could have had a lemonade stand and sold nothing, and now you believe you can't do anything. I can't sell well. The I can't, that whole idea that we ingrain that into our everyday. But the thing is that we get stuck with that and we think we can't break that cycle, right? The moment when you are in the tension and it is bothering you that is there, like that you're like, "What what the frig?" Then that's actually a yay for you because if you're just rolling through life like, "Well, it is what it is," that's not an awareness. If you're like, "This pisses me off," then that says, yeah, because there's a higher part of yourself that's like, "This isn't where it's supposed to be." That limiting belief system is part of your parts, but you're at a place in your life where your emotional intelligence is higher. You're now gravitating, yeah, thumbs up, right? I love all
Thumbs
the little
up.
thumbs up. You're at a different level now where your EI is different and you're now like challenging yourself. And the challenge is the pain because you've been kind of riding along, on the surf, and now you're kind of like, all right, there's some resistance here, but the resistance is good. The resistance is the message. The resistance is telling you you're standing in the tension and you have a number of choices you can make. If you're standing on the edge of that beach, and I love this scenario, and I use this a lot and it's in my book, the whole idea of being in the overwhelm, a whelm is a wave. And when you're standing in the tension and the resistance, you have a number of choices on the edge of that beach. You can retreat and run, but nothing changes if nothing changes. You can try to go around the wave, but there's not really an end to a wave. There's always another one coming. You can try to go over it, but you're going to get tumbled back. You could get pulled into the tide. Not a good day. Or you can put your hands together like an arrow and take a deep breath and dive straight through because you know what's on the other side of that wave, right? It's usually calm waters. The big fear is the break of the wave on the edge, and you've just gone beyond it. And then things are a little bit easier to deal with. And now you're looking behind you and you're like, the biggest part is behind me. You took that first step, you took that first dive. And I think that's when your nervous system will start to change because you're like, I did something pretty awesome. It could also scare you. And maybe you don't want to take the next step. And that's okay too. You don't have to do it all at once. Just acknowledging that achievement, be it small or large, is that first step,
Mm.
right? We
I
we tend to
love that
poo-poo the
visual.
small. Yeah.
We do poo-poo the small, especially high achievers. It's like, I need to take this
Right.
grandiose leap of this, like doing all the things suddenly at once versus what are those small steps of progress? What are those little dives that we take into the wave? And I
That we
love
forget about.
that we forget about. Yeah.
We think it's like nobody's going to care. It's small potatoes. It's like, really? Because yesterday you were doing that and now you're not. Now you're beyond it. And it reminds me of that movie. We were just talking about this weekend with my girlfriend. I was out at her house, and the movie, what was it, with Richard Dreyfuss and Bill Murray,
What about
where
Bob?
Richard, yes,
Baby steps.
baby steps, right? Until the point he's like so scared to be on the boat, he's finally like strapped to the front of the boat.
Yep.
It's so funny, but it's so true that even the smallest step will get you to the next. And then you got to laugh at yourself. That goes back to hugging it out with yourself, the humor. Like, oh my God, yesterday I couldn't even get on a boat. Now I'm like strapped at the front of it, you know? So, yes, it's not going to always be a comedy, right? But even being able to look back, because 99% of the time we make things a lot bigger than they are, and they're not as scary as they are. And once we take the step, our nervous system is being reminded we're not really that in danger, but being aware of what you're feeling, being aware of like, we call it the case when we're doing nervous system work, especially with Havening. When I'm training therapists and doctors and nurses to bring this into their practice and teachers, we need more teachers. You're going to react to it differently. It's cognitive, it's autonomic, it's somatic, it's emotional, like CASE. You have to know where it's coming from and be aware. Ask yourself, where am I feeling this right now? Where is this causing me? Where is this causing? Is it my shoulders? Do I have a lot in my, am I carrying a lot? Is it my throat? Is there something I need to say? Is it my heart? Because, oh my gosh, this is my heart's work. And so understanding where you're feeling it is also another way of really befriending your nervous system.
I love that you said that because sometimes the brain can lie, but the body always tells the truth. And the body so often knows before the brain does when you have that. That's why they call it a gut instinct
Mm-hmm.
of that gut reaction or intuition. I have a question that I have on my pre-coaching form before any session with any client. Doesn't matter whether we're discussing business, consulting, whatever. I always ask, what's been going on with your body since our last session? And just in having that awareness of, oh, they're having some shoulder pain. Maybe they're shouldering a lot of the burden. Like we have these linguistic metaphors, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Like, oh, my neck has been feeling sore. These metaphors are metaphors because they actually physically can happen in the body. I had when I was bought out of my e-commerce company, I suddenly had this massive pain in my hand. And I went to multiple doctors to figure it out. And apparently it was cubital tunnel syndrome. And it's like where you grasp.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor, I literally talked to the doctor and I was so grateful for him. He said, well, I could perform surgery and you could buy me my next boat. Or he said, you could read this pamphlet, do a few exercises and release whatever you're holding on to. It was just then that it hit that I was like, oh my gosh, I've been holding on to this identity of who I was as a business owner and grasping onto a business that was no longer mine. I was bought out. But in that scenario, I had felt like I failed. And so often the body holds things and keeps these memories in place for
Mhm.
us to then allow for the healing to come through when we're ready.
Yeah. And it's not even about, and I love that story too, that just being able, by the way, you didn't buy him his boat,
I
gonna
didn't
do
buy
it
him his
himself,
boat. No, I
right?
said I was going to do it myself. You can go buy your own boat.
Exactly. And I think but that's great that he gave you that option. I had that happen to me when I was working on what I'm going to do next with my jaw treatment because I had major jaw surgery when I was 15, major traumatic thing in my life that I have to deal with every day. Like I said, going to the dentist. And I went to an orthodontist that actually was like, you should get total reconstructive surgery again. I've got one doctor I could recommend to you to out in San Francisco. And I'm like, really? I live in the metropolis of the world in New York, out of New York. There's no doctor here. And the fact that I'm like, I don't know what mansion you're buying that like you got to listen to yourself. And I walked out that door like, thank you for your time. And then I found someone that deals with sleep apnea and TMJ and sleep dentistry that's taking a more like nurturing approach to my healing. Like, you didn't hear me, dude, over there. You
Mm-hmm.
heard me. But, most importantly, I heard myself. You got to be your own healthcare advocate, you know? And that's
100%.
really important. Like, I can't stress that enough, no matter what it is, emotional or physical, whatever. Being your own healthcare advocate means asking the questions. You don't need to be ashamed by a doctor or anybody in practice that the minute you ask a question, you're challenging them. Damn right you're challenging them.
Yeah.
And if they're insecure about it, they're not the doctor for you.
I see it with business coaching too, where it's like, oh, this is
Yeah.
the one best only way that you can grow your business. And I'm like, there's a bajillion different ways to grow your business. There's a bajillion different ways to do it. What is the way that's most aligned for you? And if you have somebody
Right.
who's saying this is the only way that you can do it, you have to go out and make 20 sales calls a day and pitch yourself constantly and feel like a sleazy used car salesman, might not be the person for you.
Yeah. Maybe somebody gravitates to that and they will kick ass and do an awesome job
Yeah.
doing it that way. And that brings them joy. More power to you. We need
Rock
people
on.
like that out too. But if it is not resonating with you, if it is like going against what you stand for, then it is against what you stand for. And that's okay because we are all different, you know? We
Mm.
have a saying in, I got trained in integrative nutrition at IAN. That's the largest health coaching school in the world when I first got certified and working in the holistic field. And the saying is it's bio-individuality, right? Yes, it's bio-individuality. That doesn't mean that your system works differently as far as like your blood pumps to a different way and it just means like how you're receiving it could be different because your life experiences are different. Your environmental upbringing is different. What you eat is different. Where you live is different. And you need to take all of those things, what the limiting belief systems you have are different from somebody else. So you cannot cookie cutter anybody. And we live in a fast track coaching world right now
Hmm.
where they're even saying AI is going to replace therapists. Um, I don't know so much about that. We need human connection. Oh, look, it gave me a thumbs down and I didn't even put a
Thumbs
thumbs down.
down.
We need human connection to exist.
Yeah. How do you know? Like, I think this is where the skill set of discernment, and this is something we've been talking a lot about in our collective coaching community, because the skill set of discernment to know, is this my intuition speaking, or is this my fear of doing something new? So, say, for example, like with some of my clients who are just going out, they're getting their first sales in their business after leaving corporate and it's new. And so it feels awkward and it feels weird and there's uncertainty and you don't know it and you haven't practiced it. So it can feel those feelings of almost feeling quote unquote wrong versus the intuitive nudge of like, no, I need to lean into doing this. Like this is my edge. This is where I'm going to grow. How do you
Yeah.
discern
So
that within the body?
I think it's individual. It's hard to say how you're going to be able to interpret that,
How do you feel it in your body? How do you feel the
rephrase
right
the
answer?
question
Like, how
as
do
far
you
as what?
as far as discerning whether it's doing something new that's going to grow you in to where you want to go versus doing something new that's out of alignment from who you are.
I've gotten really good at acknowledging and understanding my nervous system. Because I was a real wound up kid with anxiety and worry. I mean, I had a dad that was sick most of my life, my younger years until he was no longer here anymore. So I was constantly living in a place of not feeling safe with the loss of a father physically because, maybe he was working full time or he was in the hospital. So I had to grow up really fast, but I was still a kid with a really activated nervous system, not even knowing what self regulation was, right?
Yeah.
And I think in time, you get to know who you are and you take bold steps and you're going to take risks and you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. But sometimes when I'm standing on the edge of that ocean myself at that beach, I sit there in the silence and I ask myself, and I do a lot of Havening. I sit there and I do a little meditation, and it's the silence. When you sit in silence, the answers come. I've also gotten really big on reading the signs. Girl, I see triple numbers all the time.
Same.
All the time. And it's not just like, oh, it's 2 o'clock and 22 seconds, or it's like 2:22 or 3. I mean, I'm talking like I'm on the road thinking something in my head, and all of a sudden Route 333. And I'm like, okay, that's not by accident. I'm thinking of something. I'm ruminating. I'm thinking about something. I'm having a moment with myself. And I see that. And so I stop. It's like, okay. And the first thought that comes to mind is I know it's the answer. And I'm like, and I say thank you. But it's either numbers or really pay attention to the signs. It's different for different people. And this isn't woo woo. This isn't woo woo. This is like you taking and acknowledging and stepping back and saying, what do I need in this moment? What do I need to take from this? What is this telling me? If anything, it's just giving you a pause,
Mm-hmm.
right? Treat it like a pause if you don't think it's, a higher thing. Take it as a pause. And it's almost like a game after a while, right? And when it happens after a while, you just stop anyway. And you're like, huh, okay, got it. You
Yeah.
know, I'm protected. I'm protected. I'm good. All is well. I might not have all the answers right now, and that's okay. But I'm good. I'm good. And you just feel better, you know? So that's how I do it for me. I feel that I pay very close attention. Not that I look for it. I don't look for the signs, but I pay play very close attention to things around me. And I sit a lot in silence because my mind loves to tell me silly, ridiculous stories, which are good and bad, right? But I like to sit there and change the narrative on that story if it's not good, because who doesn't want to feel good, you know? Yeah. Does that answer
Yeah.
your question?
Oh yeah. I mean, I love that you see signs. I've seen the number 222 like constantly for the past 5 years. Is just like, this is a guide. Like this is just it constantly. And
Crazy.
it's when you get that level of trust. I mean, building that trust that you have with your relationship, not only like with yourself, but with God source universe being
Yeah.
having your back and knowing that yeah, you're out here doing your thing, but it's not just you. Like we are all collectively growing and working toward our purpose. And I love what you said about being in that challenge and like recognizing that challenge in your body and being able to be in that space when because I feel it brought me back to labor actually and with my daughter and the feeling of like, whew, okay, here it is. I don't like it. It doesn't feel comfortable. But at the same time, there's this surge of like, oh, here's this challenge. My body is facing this resistance and it's birthing the beautiful entity into this world, whether it's a
Yeah.
human or a creative project or a next level version of you. I'd love to know from you, Hilary, like, what are the identities that you've struggled with the most to strip away, those egoic constructs that you've had over the years? Because you've had such a varied career. And what was the hardest one to let go of and lean into surrender?
I'm so impatient.
Same, queen.
I want everything yesterday. And my dad used to say, "You want what you want when you want it." And I'm like, "Yeah, right." So patience for me has been something that I'm really proud of. And that doesn't mean there's times where I'm like, why isn't this happening? Because I get like that. But then in that same breath, I might say something like, "Oh, it is happening. It's just not here yet. I need to trust." Because if I don't trust, I'm basically saying that universe, source, God, whatever you believe in, remember this is open to what you believe, is not, I don't trust them. They're not my cheerleaders, right? And the universe wants you to succeed. The God, the angels, wherever you put your faith, is all for you to succeed and win, right? So patience is a big one for me, right? Those limiting belief systems, like,
Oh,
yeah, but definitely worry and patience. Worry, I know, comes from a limited belief of having a dad that was sick and always worrying. Always, I feel it right here, even when I think about it, because I feel that 7-year-old sitting in a waiting room at a doctor's office wondering if my dad was coming home while I'm doing homework, or that's a safety thing. We need safety. It always comes back to safety, even if we don't even understand that, you know? So the patience of knowing things will turn out is also safety. I just want to know everything's going to be okay. How many times have we said that? I just want everything to be okay, right? That's our urgency of needing to feel safe. And the faster we have safety, the better, right? So patience. Yeah, that's something I'm constantly working on.
where do you source your safety now?
That's an interesting question. Where do I source my safety? Like, where do I store it? Or where I get it from?
Where do you find it? Where do you resource yourself? Where do you remind, like, is it a reminder? How do you source? Is it a feeling?
Well, I don't think I've ever been asked that. For me, safety has to begin within. I got to talk the talk and walk the walk. And if I am really truly believing that we have the ability to hug it out with ourselves, meaning that being able to laugh at ourselves and the healing, being able to understand who we are and how we're showing up in the world, our core values, and also gratitude, while we have gratitude for things outside of ourselves. And that's really important. If you are not grateful and thankful and appreciative of what you bring to the table, then you are putting a lot of power outside of yourself. So the source has to come from within. But when I'm depleted and when I need support and assistance, I I think it's building that collective of people, people that that you can go to, that can be your charging station, so to speak, right? Oh, and for different things too, right? A charging station. And that charging station might not be a human being. It might just be getting outside and going for a walk and connecting to nature. That's a charging station, right? It could be taking a nap because I am like exhausted from not getting enough sleep with sleep apnea. That's a charging station. So I think it's understanding that we have different charging stations when we are depleted, and being, this is a big one, Kim, asking for help. That's another
So,
one for me.
especially for women, I think just
But
in
yeah,
general, like, because, hey, it's 11:11.
that's what I'm talking about. Right when I said that. And maybe because I've been standing on the edge of something, asking for help on a project. You said that you were my conduit to remind me that that's there, because I'm not wearing my glasses, and God knows I don't know what that says in the corner of my camera. But thank you, because you just alerted me. And asking for help is really hard for women, yes, but some of us who are high achievers, even harder.
Yeah.
I'll do it all
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
No, don't do that. It goes back to kind of the whole Think and Grow Rich Napoleon Hill book, right? Where you got to have people that are good at what they do to support you in areas they're good at so you can focus on what you're good at, you know?
100%. Yeah. And having that
Yeah.
and having team support. I think that the hard part
Yeah.
about asking for help is we think that the management, or if it's not, like, I just hired a mother's helper to come in part-time once a week just to, help me with some putting away some laundry, some little
Yeah.
projects that go along with having a little one. And like I broke down crying happy tears because I asked for, I was like, oh, one of the tasks is like to just get the stuff out of the car. Like we had a whole bunch, like my kids left a whole bunch of stuff, and she brought her vacuum, and then she was like, oh, I was going to take out the seats and vacuum there. And I just broke down crying because I didn't even have to think. I didn't even think, oh yeah, take out the car seats because there's
She did
probably a
it.
bajillion pistachios underneath it. But she already thought of it. And I
Ugh,
think that our egos really love to hold us back and think that we're the only one who can do the thing that to create whatever.
mm.
And that's such bullshit,
Nobody
quite
can do it better
frankly.
than I can. You know where I'm seeing that a lot, and I've had many conversations about this, especially as I get older,
Yeah.
and my parents are getting older. Like I'm in that sandwich generation, right?
Same.
Asking for help, like our parents asking for help when the family caregiver. Like being a family caregiver is very overwhelming. And I went through this, a couple years ago with my stepdad who is no longer with us, but it was hard for my mom to step back and allow someone else to come in for a moment and a short period of time to help out so she could just be the loving wife. You can't lift a 180-pound man when you're 5'2" and think you can do that and do this and do that. You have to let these angels come in and do the job that they are designed to do, right? How beautiful it is that you found a mother's helper who was able to do that, and she's probably like, "All right, now she's crying. Why is she crying?
It
Am I a
was
therapist
great.
now?" But you got exactly what you needed, and that
Yeah.
is what will show up when you release the reins, and this goes back to letting go of your agenda, because what will happen most likely is that what is exactly designed for what you need shows up. But if you went into that with, all right, I need someone to help out with Declan and the baby and giving me a couple extra hours to do the laundry. And I need her. This is mother's helper. This is what I need you to do. She'd probably be like, okay, she gave me the schedule of what I need to do. I'll just do that, rather than I trust you know what you're doing. And then she goes ahead and there's no pistachios in your back.
No
You know what I'm saying?
pistachios in the car. Thank
The
God.
little things,
Just
right?
those little things that just the environment matters so much.
Yeah. You
And
you aligned with that you brought that into your presence.
yeah, and I think that that's when we can be in that space of asking for help. And what was great was I was her first client. She was new mom, like new business. She just wanted some time to do something for herself and just be around grown-ups instead of, I was like, I get it. Infants don't talk that much. And so it was a mutual support situation. And I
Love
think
that.
that that's when we can surrender our ego and thinking that we're the be all end all only one who can do it. That's our egos.
Mhm.
And that asking for help, what do you need help with right now that either myself or our community can lean into supporting you with?
Well, some of the stuff we were talking about before, like if you're a rock star out there that has a handle in the publishing business, and I am pitching this incredible book that's already been really beautifully recognized by one of the top publishers in self-help, get up with me. And then also, like, if you are a rock star editor and you love editing podcasts, I'm just going to put it out there, girl. I mean,
Just put out.
by the time this drops, it might be that the universe is hearing me and it was like, we'll send that to you first. And then someone hears this episode, they're like, did you need someone? Like, you know what? I got that handled, but what else do you do? Somebody else might be like, I'm also a VA or a personal assistant. I do this too. And I'm like, I've been thinking about hiring somebody to do that. And and then I don't want to just do a take here. The ask I have is that people give themselves permission to trust that they have exactly what they need. Everything is designed to work out for you in the highest good. And you have tools to change your thoughts, moods, behaviors, and habits and hug it out with yourself and be what I call the pioneer practitioner in your own life. And by that, I don't mean you have to be a practitioner. We're all designed to be practitioners in our own lives. What do you need to be that for yourself? Stop, take a moment to think about it, because that's the true give, is knowing that you are able to give yourself first and fill up that charging station.
Yeah.
Don't give all
Hillary,
the
don't give it all away. And also I love what you said of like not just being a taker. It's like we have so much that we can receive and so much that we can also give. And it's being in that dance of doing both. And it's
yeah.
not either or. It's yes and both. And I love our conversation. I know we could go
Me
on for
too.
hours.
I know. I know. I'm sitting here going, "Oh my gosh, do I have a client in like 15 minutes?" And I do. But this wrapped without me even needing to tell you is perfectly designed. And, you know, all I can say is that thank you to everybody who's tuning in and taking the time. Like you took the time to be here with us for the hour to to be present, and you're not here by accident. So whether you connect with me in whatever way you do, or there's something I can do to support you, it's a conversation that I'm open to having.
Yeah. I'd love to switch into a little bit of rapid fire to wrap this up. You ready?
Look at that. Look at you
Just
doing the rapid fire now too. I love it.
who is your favorite female character in a book or a movie and why?
Laura Ingalls Wilder, hello. I sit there and I watch Little House on the Prairie reels like it's my job sometimes.
Oh my gosh.
She was a rock star
She's
before her
amazing.
time. Yes.
What person, alive or alive and in their time, would you want to trade places with just for a day? Be in their bodies, see how they thought.
What person would I
Alive in their time.
alive in their time would I want to trade for a day?
Any person in
Hmm.
history.
In history. I know this sounds really ridiculous, but there's a part of me that I am so I just love Mel Robbins. I find that she's such a rock star and got to where she is and everything that she's doing. It's gotta be a toss up between that and Oprah because, my background in journalism. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
What is your money routine that makes you feel safe with money?
Ooh, ooh. Okay, that's a challenge. What makes me feel safe with money,
Hmm.
uh,
Whether it's
is
habits, processes.
well, besides seeing it in the bank, I think something that makes me feel safe is knowing that I have, again, people that I trust that help me in areas that are not my expertise. The financial advisors, the bookkeepers, the accountants. I have my tribe of people, right? But I think for me, because I'm the one that's giving them a job, right? Is trusting that it's abundant and knowing it's there. It's really as simple as that. And keep talking to it with gratitude. Yeah, and just seeing it as like an abundant source of currency, but not the only source of currency. It can't have that much power.
Yeah, oh, I love that. What do you define to be your queendom?
Elaborate on that one a little bit. What do you mean?
Up to interpretation. Take it as you go.
I think my queendom is that I feel like a divine feminine every day. And I know that I have the ability to both be the container that allows people to feel safe, including myself. So there's kind of a masculine energy in that. But then also, I really, with all love and kindness and compassion, with all of my heart, can fill that container well. And I think as a queen, we really reign and rule with love and compassion. And I would not want to do it any other way.
Lastly, how do you crown yourself?
Well, I do have a crown right up there on my is it up there? Oh, it might be clean. It might be I have a big crown.
Love it. How often do you
I
put it
do.
on?
It hurts. It's so heavy. I don't know how these Miss Americas do it. This thing is like, I don't know, the top of the Empire State Building. That's what it feels like when it's on my head.
Yeah.
It was given to me as a gift on one of my birthdays, and I leave it up there. But how do I crown myself? By being present, by self-care, and by showing up every day with love, you know? Be love and you will receive love.
Mm.
And knowing that it all works out, you know? Yeah.
Hilary, how do we connect with you? How do we work with you? Plug yourself, queen, because I know my community will definitely want more of you.
Well, anyone, I would love for you to connect with me. You can find me on social media at Hilary Russo with one L on all social. I have my Substack now, which is the Brain Candy Blueprint, and I'm writing regularly there. And obviously the Holistically Speaking podcast, HIL, like holistic with HIL, Holistically Speaking podcast, tune in and just be part of the conversation of what it takes to be a happy, healthy grown up. Any way you find me, if you skywrite, I will find you. But my website, obviously, I have my Havening happy hours every month, which is an awesome opportunity to meet me online and let me guide you in a Havening journey. And then obviously my Pioneer Practitioner program, learning how to bring Havening into your workplace. And, any way you find me, you can find it on my website. And then through that is social and all that is there.
All
LinkedIn
the
too,
things.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, all the good things.
All the places. And we will have all the links to all the
Yes.
places to find Hilary in the show notes. So be sure to click follow, subscribe, and drop her a review of her podcast, because I not only was honored to be a guest, but
You
I am a
were.
listener of it, because you have had some extraordinary humans on there and the conversations are so worthwhile and valuable. So Hilary, it has just been such a pleasure having you on and the Crown Yourself podcast. And as always, my fellow sovereigns, own your throne, mind your business, because your reign is now.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. If what you heard resonated with you, be sure to subscribe and start creating a bigger impact now by sharing this with a friend. Just by doing that one simple act of kindness, you are creating a royal ripple to support more people in their sovereignty. And if you're not already following on social media, connect with me everywhere at crownyourself.now for more inspiration. I am so excited to connect with you in the next episode. And in the meantime, go out there and create a body, business, and life that rules. Because today, you crown yourself.